And very pleased to have so many people here. I'm actually very impressed. And hello to all the folks at home on the live stream there. And it's fantastic to be with you here at Expo 2020 and to hear about some of your adventures, because we've shared a little bit, but it's really...
Yeah, like we've done this, right? Like we've had this conversation, like, oh my God, oh, you did that, I didn't do that, oh. Yeah, so it's really cool. And also it's such a pleasure to be here in Dubai. This used to be like my first home. When I say that, I mean my metamorphosis happened here in this city. Just freshly out of college, a new graduate looking for a job. My mom said, you have options between, I gave her the option of Mumbai. She said, no, you go to Dubai instead. And yeah, came here looking for a job, worked here. And then one day I said, going back to Mumbai. And thank God for that. I was able to now visit Ireland. And I think ever since I actually lived in Dubai for like 5 years, I had never really lived anywhere else after I moved to Mumbai. And this was the first time that I left my home and I made Ireland my home, and I lived there for almost a year. So yeah, it was like a very special personal experience, and it just didn't mean that I was there professionally. It was also seeming to be like a personal growth, to be like in a new country, in a new place, and yeah.
And what started off as an unfortunate scenario because of the pandemic actually ended up being a story that you'll tell forever.
Forever.
And one that you're going to tell today. Now, you created some absolutely beautiful videos of different things in Ireland, and I want to play a few of those, if I may, and then we can discuss them. And I've got a few questions about them.
I've swooned over these videos, okay, silently. So I got the private links to it like ages ago when they were first edited, and I just went like, I don't know who is more beautiful, the guest of honor or Ireland. It's really nice.
Well, let's play them. So cue the video, please.
The one thing I love about Ireland is its beautiful landscapes. It's so green and lush and has everything from rugged coasts to mountain ranges, tranquil lakes, rivers, and also castles that are steeped in history, myths, and fairy tales, stretching back thousands of years. This island has an incredible tourism trail called the Wild Atlantic Way. It's a journey along the west coast of Ireland that spans from the very top to the very bottom of the island. Being at the edge of Europe, Ireland has a unique sense of rugged, wild beauty. Plenty of dramatic photo opportunities. You will never be stuck for the perfect Instagram post thanks to its breathtaking views. Definitely the place you want to come to if you want to go on an adventure. Traveling around Ireland has shown me that it has so much hidden beauty and secret treasure, including stunning headlands and beaches to colorful villages and towns, all infused with history, heritage, and tradition. The wisps are real, huh?
Yeah.
I'm like braving the cold in Ireland, wearing like this white jumpsuit, and literally after I would hear a cut, I'm like, give me the jacket. I need to I'm freezing. So that was one experience. But the castle that we saw and the lawns that we saw are the Empire's garden in the Show Foundation.
Fantastic. So look, that was beautiful, and actually I was in Ireland just 2 weeks ago, and I actually recognized a few of those places, so I actually got to see a few. But coming from India, which also is a very scenic and beautiful place, what was it that stood out most to you when you arrived in Ireland about the landscape?
I think it was the million shades of green for me. It's just endless green and so therapeutic and just so heartwarming. And you just feel safe and comfortable. And I think it's the greatest place to get lost if you really want to. Because there was some part of me that found myself being lost in Ireland. It was just the most incredible thing. I had my GPS on, I was driving, and it just sang, you know? And I just came back feeling lighter, happier, kinder. And I was just smiling like a buffoon for no real reason, because I just had every reason to smile. There was a sense of peace and calm that just comes to you. And also the people that you meet along the way. You know, they're just fun people. You just meet everyone, and everyone has a story to tell you. And They don't make you feel like you are any different from them or you are. It's literally like, oh, you there, come, let me tell you my story. And why don't you tell, oh, do you want to get a drink? No, okay, why don't you come to my house and we'll get. I'm like, hey, this looks like India. This feels like India. This is great stuff.
So tell us a little bit more about where you went and where was particularly breathtaking for you in terms of the scenic beauty and what struck you?
Okay, so it was December 2019 when I was asked to visit Ireland for the first time for a screen test for foundation. Now, I hadn't locked the job. I hadn't been confirmed for this job, okay? But I am the happiest person on this flight to Ireland. And they're like, where exactly do you think you're going? I'm like, I'm going to Shannon Airport. Are you sure you're excited to go to Shannon? I'm like, yes, I've never been to Ireland. And the first place I'm going to visit is Shannon Airport. And I got off the airport and I'm like, got this big smile. And the chauffeur comes to fetch me at the airport. He looks at me and says, I've never really seen anyone so happy to come to Shannon Airport before. I said, no, trust me, it's all going to be fine. This is just the normal me. I'm just a happy person. But this is just making me really happy. It's been a dream to visit Ireland, and here I am. And it's probably going to be the foundation of my career. Get to the hotel, check in, and I am straight away into tourist mode. So I'm like, where can I go? What can I see? What can I eat? What can I do? And the person at the reception is just like, just relax. This is Limerick. It isn't too big. Just get out of the hotel, cross the bridge, that's the city center, turn left and see everything along the way. Turn left again, you'll reach the second bridge. Look at everything along the way. Turn left again, and then you'll be back at the hotel.
Yeah.
And literally 12,000 steps. I was done with Limerick. And I was like, wow. And within those 12,000 steps, there were the coolest bars, there were the coolest restaurants, there was this old cathedral, a fort,
wow,
a castle, these massive bridges, this incredible river flowing in the center of the city. And before I could blink, there were like rainbows in the sky. I said, stop it. This cannot be real life. This has to be out of a cinema. Yeah. Am I actually not standing in a green screen right now? This is really nice. So in that sense, that really was my first experience of Ireland. And I never felt like I didn't have something to do. Like after shooting, we would end up going to a comedy club. There were always places that was, playing live music. And just such a lively, happy, welcoming place. Yeah. But then through the course of my stay, Cliffs of Moher, so driving down the wild Atlantic coast road, and I think I went all the way up to, what am I forgetting? The last spot on the western coast. So you go all the way up to Donegal, yes. Yeah, I mentioned that to you, right? It's funny because I forgot just now. But yeah, it was Donegal. And in Donegal, there is this really famous lighthouse. And I had seen that on this show called Somebody Feed Phil. So my tour guide to Ireland was Somebody Feed Phil. And I wanted to visit this lighthouse in Donegal. So I drive my car into the parking lot. There are 2 buses parked there. And I'm like, where is the lighthouse? Where is the lighthouse? And he goes like, get down, take left. Somehow everything is on the left in Ireland. They're like, take left. And I literally didn't even park my car. I drove into like this helipad area, and the lighthouse was in front of me. And I just stood in front of the lighthouse on this helipad taking pictures.
And it was a working lighthouse?
This is a working lighthouse.
Wow.
And it's gorgeous. It's beautiful, white, scenic, just surrounded by this endless expanse of blue water, and then after the blue water, all you see is like another shade of green, and I'm just like,
you know, I was only there 2 weeks ago, and now I feel like I need to go back.
I'll be your tour guide, Paris. I'll be your tour guide.
It's the lighthouse. And actually, I think there's some Irish people in the audience who probably haven't experienced as much of Ireland as many of us do from wherever we come from. Quite often, we don't explore our own countries quite as much. So it's actually quite nice to even tell Irish people about some of the things that we've discovered. And one of the things that you touched on there, which will bring us on to the next video. Everybody has a tale, and I met a lot of people with a lot of interesting stories about Ireland. Everybody can tell you a good story. It's a nation of storytellers. It's really quite incredible, and we're going to play your next video.
The next video? Okay.
Cue the video.
Ireland is an island filled with rich heritage and ancient history. Limerick City is almost 1,100 years old.
Yes,
and has gone from being a Viking settlement, a medieval walled town, a Georgian city, and is now a modern, vibrant metropolitan area. Here you can visit King John's Castle, the Hunt Museum, and St. Mary's Cathedral.
Where you stand now would have been sieges, battles, controlment over time, so you have to try and bring all that in and just imagine as to where you're at. The other fascinating thing about the history was when King John's was here, they actually printed their own currency within the castle walls.
County Limerick is a historic and ancient place, with evidence of human settlement dating back 5,000 years.
There's over 2,000 objects here in the collection. The oldest of them are up to 5,000 years old.
850 years of history, and this is the most ancient part of the cathedral, but this is a pre-Reformation altar stone.
For all you history buffs, I'd definitely recommend a trip to Ireland.
Well, that's fantastic. I mean, my experience of Ireland has been that there's so much history and a very rich culture, but I didn't get to go to Limerick. I'd be very interested for you to tell me, I mean, what you were looking at there was Limerick.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a bit of the tales and some of the history of Limerick?
Okay, so I've got loads of stories there because I spent so much time filming there, right? And every weekend I would take off and visit a new site, see a new place. But the St. Mary's Cathedral that we saw there was one of the places that I needed to visit when I told you, I hadn't still got the job. And I walked in and there were these two really beautiful ladies who said, do you understand that this place is a place of miracles? You can ask for anything, and most times it comes true. So I actually prayed that I should get foundation, please. I begged for it, and I said, if I get it, I'll come back and say thank you. And I did. So for me, that cathedral is really special.
Amazing.
And it's funny, right? I was staring down the person who was trying to tell me about St. John's Castle. I honestly wasn't trying to intimidate him. I was really cold. So my eyes were just wide. And I was like, yes, tell me about St. John's Castle. Yeah, so that was me trying to... and also the distance that we had to maintain because we were shooting that during COVID.
Right.
So we actually were adhering to COVID restrictions while we were doing that.
So the big question is did you meet any leprechauns?
You see, on good days, I am a leprechaun. So I didn't really meet them.
Did they ever tell you the story or the tale of the leprechauns? Or?
No, they didn't, but they did tell me stories about fairies.
Fairies, yeah.
Yeah, so when I went hiking, there were like these different spots to go hiking in and around the county. Some a little just outside of Limerick even. And you've got actually this one little hill, which is called the home of the fairies. And when you start hiking, you will see, little spots and corners and nooks where you have installations of fairies. So people go pray and leave a little fairy or leave a little gift for the fairies. So, and these hikes are so simple to do that parents go with their babies, with their parents, with their puppies. And it's just one hell of a community, you know. You just walk in and you're just having conversations as you're making your way up, and everybody's really encouraging. Just around the curb, just around. And then you're just walking and like experiencing like this lovely hike. So yeah.
Now, the people are, I think, the thing that you really can't describe to people who've never been to Ireland is the people are so warm.
Hospitality.
The hospitality. But you had a particularly interesting experience because you...
I thought I was talking too much, but thank you so much for leading me into that story. So we're shooting for Foundation, and due to COVID, I'm not allowed to return home. And it's Christmas, and we're just filming this entire sequence of videos. And my chauffeur, Niall, says, "So, darling, what are you doing for Christmas and New Year's?" I said, "Nothing. I'm probably going to spend it alone." No. That's a terrible, terrible time to spend alone. It's festivities. Are you saying you have no friends here? I say, no, all my friends, colleagues have all gone back home. And I'm literally the only one who hasn't been allowed to travel. So yeah, maybe I'll find a colleague or whatever. And at this point, you're not even allowed to cross county lines. So I'm like, I'm going to probably end up spending it in Limerick in my apartment all by myself. No, you're not. You're coming home and celebrating Christmas with our family. Now to this, I'm thinking, it's just another thing, right? Like you say something to be polite and kind. And you're like, yeah, sure. You know, my chauffeur, who I met for like 2 days in my life, is inviting me home to celebrate Christmas. And of course I'm going to jump on this opportunity, right? So I thought it was just a polite little invitation. But then closer to the 25th, like on the 22nd of December, I actually called Niall. I said, Niall, were you serious about that offer, or what do you mean, were you serious about that offer? That wasn't an offer, that was an invitation. And yes, you're still invited to our home. And you won't believe it, on Christmas Day, I actually spent this beautiful and it was my dream to spend Christmas in a cold country that was celebrating Christmas as a part of their culture. And I actually got to spend it in an Irish home in Limerick. And literally, Niall says, why don't you join my brother, Fiad, and his wife for lunch? So I literally started with lunch. I went and bought presents for the kids, wrapped them up, put them in front of their Christmas tree. They gave us presents. Then we went to Niall's house, spent Christmas with Niall's parents, dogs, cats, fireplace, food. The father walking, up and down the bar, making me Irish coffee and saying, this is how it's done. And I'm just like, this is amazing. Because that kind of hospitality, I think I would find in India. If you hear about people passing through villages, like I have a friend who cycles across India, and he says, I've never ever needed to carry a single piece of extra food. Like never went hungry, because if I ever got hungry, all I had to do is stop by a house in any village and say, I'm really hungry, can I get some food? And he's always been fed. And I kind of felt that in Ireland. I don't think, as a visitor, as someone who chooses to live there, or someone who chooses to, experience Ireland, will ever go hungry. Hungry for food or hungry for love. You'll always be fed.
It's a beautiful story, and for some reason it doesn't surprise me either. As I went.
Do you have an experience?
Yeah, many. Yeah, just when I was last in Ireland, just recently. I think the first 3 or 4 people we met all decided, you know what, you look cold, you should have a hat, and gave me a hat, and I was like, and little did they know I really, really wanted a hat, because we went to the Leprechaun Museum in Dublin, and that was quite funny. He said to us, as everybody says, Irish people are very friendly. We're not friendly. we're nosy. We just want to know what you're doing. And he was one of the first people we met, and that then made everything make sense.
Yeah, right, yeah. You're just so involved in your life. I think it's amazing.
But it is a friendliness, and actually the warmth of the people was, is always the nicest thing. Which leads us on to the next video. So we'll cue the next video.
Leprechaun Museum.
Today I'm visiting Foynes Flying Boat and Maritime Museum in County Limerick. Foynes was an airbase for transatlantic flights. It's a quaint, scenic harbour village that is a recommended Wild Atlantic Way discovery point and is just 30 minutes away from Limerick City. The famous flying boats carried a diverse range of people like John F. Kennedy, Ernest Hemingway, Eleanor Roosevelt, and global movie stars such as the legendary Maureen O'Hara.
I have no explanation for it. Yeah,
the
no idea why I was
part of this trip, though, is the story of the famous Irish coffee. One evening, a flight had to turn back to Foynes Air Base midway through its journey.
Staff were alerted and they came in to look after these poor passengers whom they knew from experience would be cold, damp and fed up and miserable. Joe Sheridan was the chef, and Joe decided maybe he'd cheer them up and warm them up. And really on a whim, Joe decided to put a little drop of whiskey in their coffee. I'm going to show you how to make, we hope, the perfect Irish coffee.
The story goes that a silence descended as everyone enjoyed this delectable concoction.
Oh,
excellent, excellent. Well done.
Slancha. That's how you make an Irish coffee. Slante. Yeah.
So that's another question. Did you learn many Irish words while you were there?
Correct me on this one. I was trying to get this right. I failed earlier as well. But the way I say it is literally the way it's written. Pog my twine.
Someone will correct you.
Yeah, I actually brought back...
what does it mean?
Kiss my ass.
All right. So they taught you all the best words.
Yeah.
But it's interesting because they have so many pastimes there. The culture's very rich. They have a lot of traditions. Later we're going to be watching Irish dancing. The river dance are going to be playing at the Jubilee stage, and they're really proud of that. And you meet a lot of people who, you think that maybe this is just a tradition that they hang on to, but then you actually meet the people, and they're just off to go play Gaelic football or hurling or Irish dancing.
Rugby.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what's the other thing that blew my mind? There are so many chiropractors. What is it with your backs, guys? There's so many chiropractors. Like every lane has 6 chiropractors competing to be the best. And they really are the best.
Well, so it's all the sports injuries, I think. Yeah.
Because everyone is a rower, playing rugby.
Yeah.
Like every single one of my chauffeurs at some point had played for the national team.
Yeah.
Every one of them. And everyone had a great story to tell.
Did you have a chance to try any pastime Irish traditions?
Pastime Irish traditions?
Did you try Irish dancing?
No. But I was presented some river dancing shoes, so I'm going to go secretly practice in my house, and I think that's going to be fun. Yeah.
I decided that when I went more for an adventurous purpose. I went to create an adventure documentary, and I said, right, I want to go and play hurling. I want to go learn how to do it because it looks viciously aggressive as a game. And I used to play rugby, so I thought I can handle that.
See? Another suffer.
But
he's dropping me home, actually.
So I went to learn and went and played at Croke Park, and it's very interesting, like, everyone from all the villages get involved, and because it's an amateur sport, it's not like if you come to the UK, we have football, and football teams like to get brought up by our buddies around here. But in Ireland, they can't do that because it's all kept amateur. So you have to play for the town that you were born in.
No.
Yes.
It's really territorial, right?
Yes, because you have to represent the town you were born in. And if you weren't born in the country, it would be where your parents were born or where your grandparents were born. So it has to be where you're from.
Oh,
and
wow.
So they really, really keep true to the game and don't let it become so commercial. And I thought that was quite an interesting thing.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. And I'm glad to say I played at
So how
Croke
good
Park.
were you at hurling at some point?
Well, I'll say I was absolutely amazing, but
so the track was good, huh?
But I think the video shows I'm not particularly good at hurling. But I won't be making any teams soon. Although we do have one here. We have an in Dubai.
Oh,
yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Did you try any tap dancing?
No, I didn't.
Yeah.
No. I think I had no energy for anything physical beyond the point, because never in my life had I ever thrown a punch or kicked anybody from ground to their face. And as Phara, I do a lot of that, and I'm really mean to people, like as a character. So no, I just had no energy to go out there and do anything. Also, I think we should, for me, I think I had a lot to acknowledge in terms of the restrictions with COVID and stuff like that. But I did a lot of hiking.
Oh, fantastic.
Because that was allowed. Yeah. So I actually got to experience a lot of, quaint little hills that you could go hike up. And everything was just so beautiful.
Yeah.
In that sense. And I am someone who feels very comfortable in nature, so yeah, that was awesome.
So we've got a video on adventure.
We do.
I don't know if it's the next one, but I'm hoping it is the next one. Can we cue the next video?
I did speak about adventure, though. I think
when you're in Ireland,
there's
you can go hike.
See, I told you about hiking, guys.
Sea swimming,
hurling,
horseback riding. And you know what? This list is actually endless. Limerick is the perfect base to explore the wild Atlantic Way, a tourism trail along the west coast of Ireland. It's an epic journey of discovery along 2,500 kilometers of dramatic coastline. It is Ireland's first long-distance driving route, so yeah, there are plenty of incredible places to discover and wild adventures to experience.
Oh yeah, this is something that I did in terms of adventure. It's great, isn't it?
Fastest peregrine falcon on record. It's clocked in.
Where was this?
242 miles per hour.
Oh, that looks
Traveling
really
around
big on
Ireland has shown me that it has so much hidden beauty and secret treasure, including stunning headlands and beaches to colorful villages and towns, all infused with history, heritage and tradition.
I did visit Kinsale.
Ireland is definitely the place you want to come to if you want to go on an adventure.
I think less than an hour away from Cork.
Yeah.
So I actually visited Kinsale, and also this really, really tiny town called Cove. And Cove is spelled C-O-B-H. So I have no idea why the Irish want to confuse like this regular Indian. But yeah.
Like many things in Ireland,
so, yeah.
how it reads is not how it sounds.
Yeah, Siobhan, would you like to throw some light on that? Yeah, but like Cove, like this small little town Cove, was the last, so it has the Titanic Museum, and it was the last dock that the Titanic sailed off from before it sank. And
this is in Belfast?
Huh?
This is in Belfast?
No, that's Northern Ireland. But this is like the West.
It was built in Belfast and then came down to Cove.
Cove was the last, spot like where people got on board. Right. And it's really cool because your entry ticket to the museum is a ticket that looked like the ticket that people received back in the day. And you had a name, and after the tour, you could go and check on the screen if you survived or you died. I thought that was pretty cool. And then there were these big tanks, and you had to open each one of these little, like lids on these tanks, and you could smell, and every tank had like a unique smell, which was from the ship. And to my luck, the first and the second one that I picked, one was like some gassy, like cooking chamber, and the other was smelly socks. So I was like, oh my God, that's bad luck twice, like right there. But the good thing is, the ticket that I had, that person survived. So that was pretty cool.
Fantastic. Yeah. So you must have seen a lot of the countryside with your hiking, but did you try anything a bit more hair-raising, anything that got the adrenaline going whilst you were there?
Yes, the cold.
the cold.
That was pretty hair-raising.
Yeah, that's something. Well, what time of year were you there? You went through the winter?
Yeah. So
Through
the first trip was February through March.
Yeah.
And then the second one, and most people ask me this, right? Like, oh, were you there during the heat wave in 2020? I was like, no, I was in the COVID wave back at home. But I went back in September and was there through Christmas and New Year's. So I ended up going during the coldest times of the season. Yeah. And then I remember one of my friends, John, asked me, hey, Kubra, have you experienced this, have you seen the sun in Ireland? So I said, when does that happen? The sun, blissful, you need to experience it. I said, when does one get to see it? For 5 minutes in July. Okay, that's great. Yeah. Thanks, I'm coming back for those exact 5 minutes. Yeah.
People complain about the weather, but when it is sunny, it's absolutely
yeah,
stunning,
I heard about this heat wave that you had.
Yeah. The rainbows come out. I did one adventure which I know you wouldn't have liked.
What?
You definitely wouldn't be in the right attire for it tonight.
Yeah, you mean in my cake?
Yeah, which was it actually wasn't on our itinerary when we first went, but then I sort of thought, I heard about it when I was there. I said, you know what, I don't want to do this, but it would be hilarious for a video. So I found that in Ireland, one of the sort of pastime traditions is something called bog diving. Did you ever come across this?
No.
Well, it's as it sounds. It's in the marshy lands where there's very peaty ground and holes have been dug. When it rains, it fills up and becomes a wet bog, which makes it smelly, muddy, yucky, disgusting. And of course, you need the craziest set of people to want to ever jump into that, and that's why the headquarters of bog diving worldwide is in Ireland. They love it. And so anyway, we went to discover this, and I looked at my cameraman, and I was like, look, there's nothing we can do about this. We just got to jump in, and it was as hideous as it sounds.
So you just go and jump in a marshland?
Go and jump in boggy.
So you were your own Shrek?
Yeah, basically. Yeah, came out covered in mud, and but surprisingly, it was actually quite fun, and we had a good time. But we were just like, you know what? For weeks, I was like, oh, there's a bit of bog water there coming out. That was one that I quite enjoyed. I'm not going to recommend it for you.
No, I will. I am one of those people who would like go out there and try these things.
Yeah.
I really am. I'm usually not dressed like a cake, and I'm really enjoying being dressed like a cake today. But I'm saying that, like, give me adventure, because in that one moment, when the adrenaline kicks in and you lose sight of where your breath is taking you, that is the most honest moment that your body experiences. Yeah. It's so honest because you don't know what lies after that moment, and you don't remember anything before that moment, really. That moment is so pure that I would choose, an adrenaline rush, an adventure, any day.
Well, it's humbling, isn't it? Because it's when you're at your most vulnerable.
Isn't it?
You can't be too confident when you're about to jump out of a plane or go bungee jumping or something. You've got to be humble. So
I'm one of those people who does all of that.
Yeah.
So,
Talking of being dressed like a cake. Let's have the next video.
Today we are meeting with Wade Murphy, chef of 1826 Adair, which offers modern Irish cooking that focuses on seasonal, local produce in a rustic setting.
The reason we call the restaurant 1826 is actually the year the first Lord Dunraven built the thatched cottages in Adair village for the employees of his manor. So we wanted to kind of pay homage to the history of the village. As you can see, it's a really historical village.
It's so pretty.
The village of Adair definitely has a thriving food scene with restaurants set within beautiful historic buildings like the Good Room Adair, Oak and Apple, the Wild Geese Restaurant, Dunraven Arms.
You're in the heart of an area known as the Golden Vale. The grass is so fertile. You get great milk, you get great cream, you get great cheese. We've always been primary producers of great produce. Gras, in other words, you need to pick up. It's the Irish for love. whenever I'm quoted about anything or anybody asks about my food or how I cook, it's like, I cook with gra. I cook with love.
That's lovely. Because of Ireland's location, it has a plentiful source of fresh seafood, which many restaurants on the coast have taken advantage of. The hospitality here is amazing. Everyone is so friendly. You always feel welcome.
Okay, my mouth's watering.
Yeah.
Also, 1826, highly recommend it. Also, Wade Murphy is now a friend, and he said, hey, did that restaurant thing, did it make it to the cut? I said, yes, if it does, and when I see it, I'm going to tag you in when I post it. So, yeah, Wade Murphy is a friend, and I'm so excited that I was a part of this. Yeah. He also told me this other story about how Adair Manor, the castle was built, and the village came across being inhabited because it was the closest place for the people who worked at the castle to live in before people actually expanded. So all those thatched roofs that you see are really, really old. And people used to live there as the service folk to the castle. And then it just went on to becoming one of the most desired places to live in because of, how quaint and pretty it was. And talking about food, the other place I loved visiting was Kinsale, as I mentioned earlier. And you never have to really worry about what you're going to really eat because you're always spoiled with choices. Every other restaurant in that lane of restaurants has a Michelin bib. So how can you go wrong? Every place has great food.
I think, Ireland has always been known for having great produce, great farming.
Yes.
But I think what maybe people don't realize also is you combine that with a lot of really good chefs.
Yes.
I came across a lot who really, as in the video, cook with love and know their produce and stick to their traditional forms of cooking. And I think in the 2 weeks recently that I went, I tasted some of the best food I've ever tried. It was
yeah, right. It was beautiful. What I was eating was the venison, and I hadn't eaten tastier venison in my life. It was so yummy. So yes, highly, highly, highly recommended. 1826, just outside the city of Limerick, and then of course, you will be spoiled for choices, is what I'm trying to say, which is why I'm where can I begin? Yeah. Because if I do, it's really going to be hard to say, okay.
So you can't pick one restaurant.
You really can't.
Yeah.
And also, the quality of food is just excellent across the board. And there's so much attention to detail, not just to the fact that they want to better the local food, the traditional food, with every plate that they serve you. Some of these restaurants are so excited about, transposing cultures and saying, that goes well with our food. And let's serve you this with a twist. And that's what makes the food so special. So every restaurant will have something unique to offer. And I think some of the greatest conversations happen over food. Some of the greatest memories are built over food. And while I was traveling alone, right? And yet, there are moments that I would remember. Because even the servers at the restaurant would be so kind, would be like, hey, you're by yourself, can we have a chat with you? Because they're nosy, that's correct. Yeah, but just kind and generous people. And you feel like the food is nourishing you.
Yeah.
Because you're eating with love. And you're being fed with love. And I thought that was amazing.
So this time around, I really ate at some very scenic and quaint places, really fantastically luxurious old manor houses in Kildare and places like this. And I actually saw a different side of Ireland. I saw the luxurious side of Ireland, which I think you did also.
Yes.
And that's the next video.
When we think of Ireland, I think the first idea of Ireland is let's go hiking, let's go walking around the city, which you must do. But there is this element of just unwinding, relaxing. And of course, the highlight of my day, the afternoon tea.
I promise you can never have a very long, tiring or exhausting day in Ireland because you always have a place to unwind. And that too in the most luxurious way. So well,
why don't you drop by the Adair Manor?
I felt like this really cool old auntie sitting there
For all
going
those who
like,
love playing
this
golf,
is my high tea and my
2027
desserts.
is going to mark the 100th
so frou-frou.
anniversary of
I
the
love
Ryder
it.
Cup right here at the Adair Manor Golf Resort.
Hi, baby.
For a typical display that we do here at Kubra, we would have up to 7 birds on display. Owls, falcons,
That guy's
hawks, and
huge.
eagles.
If you
And
want
so
to
gentle.
experience something that is unique, that's different, I guarantee you there is this beautiful side of luxury that we haven't spoken much of. And I experienced it, so I can definitely recommend it firsthand.
I did swim in that pool.
Now, I think one of the misconceptions about Ireland for people who haven't been,
It's backpacking.
yes, is that
Yes.
it's.
Oh, you go, it's
yeah.
student, everybody's like, it's very rich on culture, so just take your backpack and go. But if you're really looking for
Yeah, the high end.
the high end,
So, give us a few. Where did you go?
so Adair Manor, in fact, I had the option, when I visited initially, I had the option of quarantining at the Adair. But then I was like, quarantine at Adair and then pack your bags again and then go to your house. So then I chose to just quarantine in my house. But as a part of this experience, I stayed at the Adair Manor. And I didn't really think I needed to go for a hike. Because this place is just so beautiful. Like these really tall ceilings, these incredible chandeliers, I actually saw Santa Claus because it was around Christmas. Warm fireplace, the quality of food, and just you walk in and you know everybody's like, yeah, let me treat you like the princess you are, you know. And
that's where the natural warmth of the Irish actually fits in very nicely.
Yeah, so you know you can like rough it out, but then maybe like just to end the trip on that luxurious high, then you've got enough spots. Like I wanted to go stay in this castle, I think Ballyseed. I wanted to stay there, but because of the COVID restrictions, I couldn't cross county lines. But I booked myself a visit and a stay at. So even the castles that you would visit, I actually lived in a castle just outside of Dublin, and they said the room that we've given you is a really special room because one of the walls, like the walls behind my bed, was actually a real wall from the old castle.
Wow.
So it wasn't a refurbished part. So they said, that's the cool room and we're giving you the cool room. And this wasn't even as a part of, you know, the Tourism Ireland experience. This was just me saying, I want to visit and stay in a castle because, hey, you're in Ireland. You got to stay in a castle. And they were kind enough to just give me this room to stay in as a part of my experience.
What's interesting about most of the high-end places that I experienced, and maybe you also, is they're also all the historical places. They've got a story. They're usually old manor houses or stately homes that have been there for a long time, and they've got heritage. Which you know, it's always the question: well, who built this house and who owned it? And then that's where the stories start. And there's so much more than just a place to go to a spa or as a hotel. It's also got a fantastic story. And did you get a chance to go to Carton House?
No, I didn't. No, I didn't. It was on my list forever. I couldn't.
Well, I don't want to make you feel bad, but I went. And it was fantastic.
You know, this is like the classic with due respect.
Yeah, but it's one definitely next time.
I don't want to make you feel bad, but you know what happened, really?
But next time you go, it's definitely one that I'd highly recommend. It was the Duke of Leinster's house, who was maybe the most senior Duke under the Queen back in the time when Ireland and Great Britain were under the rule of the Queen. And that was his house, and we got to stay in his bedroom, and you know they call it.
Did you fornicate in the?
I can't tell you that.
Sorry, this is live. Children are watching.
Well, anyway, it was fantastic. It was.
He's red.
Yeah. Now I've gone red because she's being rude. but that one is where you have to go back.
Okay, yes.
But that area of Kildare where the horse farms are, the studs where a lot of that takes place, and a lot of these manor houses is fantastic.
Yeah. And it just makes you feel so royal, you know?
Yeah.
And I feel like that when I'm visiting, say, Rajasthan in India, because we've got these massive forts and palaces, and you can actually go and stay in these forts and palaces, and you just feel like royalty just as you enter. And as you enter, you know, even the kind of service you're receiving is the same.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, this is no ordinary man's business. This is how we make you feel. And when you turn left, there is this. Or like, for example, one of these castles that I lived in, it would be like, when you go behind, we actually have like a little way down there, and then the dungeons were there.
Yeah.
And like, you want to take a tour of the dungeons? Yes, of course. Yeah.
Now, I want to give everybody a little bit of a chance if there are any questions, because I know there's food and drink being prepared, and then we'll have the river dance after that.
Yes.
But we have a little bit of time, so if anybody...
You can quiz us.
If anybody does have any questions about either of our adventures in Ireland or anything about trips to Ireland and tourism in Ireland, then please do put up a hand. I don't know if we've got a microphone. But in the meantime, while people
think of their questions,
is there one thing that you did that you think I would hate? Because I gave you one. I gave you bog diving.
No, man, I picked my experiences. You're going to love everything I did.
Okay.
If you were vegetarian, then you would have hated the venison.
Okay, right, yeah. Well, there we go. Okay, let's switch it around then. So something that really, something that you did that really you would recommend to anybody, that really has to be on their list of things to do in Ireland.
Wait, there were a lot of things.
But you got to pick one.
Yeah, so I'm just trying to pick something really unique. Okay, so the thing is that I mentioned all these wonderful places, but can I pick two, please?
I'll let you have two.
Okay. So I didn't realize the arts, the culture of Ireland was so beautiful, and Galway spelled it out for me. Like, just drive into Galway, and almost every wall that you see is a mural, and everything has a story to tell, and it's vibrant and young and something to learn from. So I would pick Galway as an experience, and I know that most people who visit Ireland already have that on their list, because it is such a spoken of county to visit, so Galway for sure. But as one tourist spot, now I didn't realize that this was actually one of the things that Ireland recommends, but it is in Dublin, and it's called the Little Museum of Dublin. I didn't even realize it was actually like a spot, because I just discovered it when I went to this place to eat breakfast. I looked up and it said the Little Museum of Dublin. So it's this 3-story home, and you have a guided tour of the little things that are from Dublin with historic value.
Wow.
And one of the stories was, there used to be a big battle, like a really huge battle that used to be fought right here in this expanse of land that you see, but each day both parties would call a truce and nobody would lift their arms and weapons. Do you know why? I said, why? They said, to feed ducks. And I was like, are you kidding me? So can you imagine? I think there's heart, and there is love, and there is kindness, and it's beyond that la 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 la, you know, because for me, Ireland was a dream to visit after I watched P.S. I Love You for the first time.
Right.
And just like, that's where the desire to visit Ireland, you know, started. And who knew that one day I'm going to be there filming for a project in the West. It would be my first project, filming in the West. I thought it was, yeah, it was just like, yeah, manifest those dreams, man. Manifest them. They'll come true.
Well, it's been lovely talking with
Thank you,
and sharing our experiences, and I think we'll be around for the next couple of hours. But there will be food and beverage, so you've got one reason to stick around, but then River Dance is going to be on. So,
yeah, so that's another reason to stick around.
So please stick around, and we'd love to chat with anybody
yes.
who